I'd like to call the meeting of the Ross Valley Sanitary District to order. Christina, roll call, please.
Actually, I'll take the roll call action, President Gaffney, for this meeting. Thank you. Michael Borstein?
Here.
Doug Kelly?
Here.
Pamela Meggs?
Yes, I'm here.
Mary Silla? Here. President Gaffney?
Present. Thank you. Please follow me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we adjourn to closed session.
Thank you. Okay, Steve is going into the waiting room as well. And I think I can't put myself in the waiting room, so I'm gonna just mute my video and audio. And then Andrea, will you just text me when you're done?
Sure.
Okay, very good.
We shouldn't be too long. We're certainly not going to take the half hour.
Okay. Did we lose a board member?
We lost
No,
Doug unless that's his number.
Oh,
No, I'm here. Hello.
hi, there you
Okay,
are.
we hear you.
I'm having trouble with my Zoom in the conference. I'll stay on the phone, and then when we come back to open session, I'll probably use my laptop because I'm having a little trouble with the conference room.
Okay,
Okay.
very good.
It comes and goes.
Okay. Thank you, Felicia. Pam, were you saying something? You're on mute. I saw you talking. Okay.
This meeting is being recorded.
It's 5:30 and I'd like to reconvene the Ross Valley Sanitary District regular board meeting to open session. Item 5 is a report of action taken during the board. We only had a discussion regarding procedures for the performance review of the general manager. Item 6 is approval of agenda. Are we going to have any visitors tonight, Steve?
Yes, thank you, President Gaffney. I was expecting some, maybe they haven't come in yet. In the event that Justin Super attends, I was going to suggest moving items 13 and 14 up in the order.
Yeah.
They're related. But pending the attendance of our guests.
So moved.
Okay, well, what we'd like to do is keep it open and we may move 13 and 14 up. Is that the motion?
Yep, so moved. If he shows up, we'll change it around at the time.
Right, okay.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion?
We didn't have roll call, did we? Or does it matter?
Yes.
We need to have roll call. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, and roll call, please.
Director Borstein,
Yes.
Director Kelly,
Yes.
Director Meggs,
Yes.
Director Silla,
Here.
President Gaffney.
Yes. Okay, moving on to item 7, open time for public to raise items not on the agenda or for future agendas. I'll just read it. Anyone wishing to address the board of directors on matters within the district's jurisdiction but not on the posted agenda may do so. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. I don't see any public, so we can move on to that. Let's go to committee reports, item 8. Finance Committee, Mary, would you take that one, please? Or I can.
Sure. We had the Finance Committee meeting. That's what you asked for, President Gaffney, correct?
Yes.
Sorry. We had a Finance Committee meeting yesterday and reviewed many of the items that we're going to be reviewing tonight. But particularly, we looked at the financial statements and new format that staff has presented to us, and it's getting more and more user-friendly all the time. And we really appreciate that. And it's a lot of work by Corey. to make it such that our computer programs produce the information rather than spending a lot of staff time churning it out every month. So I don't think I have anything else particular to say about the Finance Committee. Do you, Tom?
Let's see, we discussed a number of the, well, we talked on the consent calendar about the cleanup of our activated carbon, which may or may not have to go to a class 1 landfill. But this is a result in our discussion of being very proactive on our pump stations for odor control. And so I don't remember doing this in a board meeting before, but we're replacing the carbon, activated carbon at 3 pump stations. And so it could be very careful about odor controls, which is what we want. Okay, so that's good. I don't have anything else to add. CMSA, who's going to report on that?
Well, I can start.
Go ahead.
We didn't have a meeting in August, so this was our first meeting in a while. And a couple of notes of good news was that the new Jenbacher engine is completely cleared by PG&E, and we're just getting ready to ramp up and start really generating power out to Marin Clean Energy through the new Jenbacher engine. And that's very exciting because at the same time, we're redoing the second digester cover, and that should be, it's well underway now and should be done pretty quickly. And so we're going to be in a good place to really go for it as far as energy production goes right away. And that's been 3 years trying to get it cleared through PG&E. And one of the main things that was holding that up was we wanted to do this thing called islanding, which was if there happens to be a PSPS, the rules stated that we couldn't run on biogas while PG&E was not, was out. Which means we had to go with the diesel generators. And with the way it's done now is if PG&E does go out, automatically it will switch over and we will just run strictly off of the biogas unless needed. And that's very, very exciting. We had a safety program presentation by our safety program manager, who we actually share with Novato because it's not a full-time position for either of us. And she did a lovely presentation about, what do we do to help prevent injuries in the agency and stay up to date. And that was lovely. We have a new, over the past few years, we've been studying what can we do at CMSA, which directly involves us because we're a JPA member, in regards to recycled water. And there were a number of different things, but the two main ones that have come up in particular was what would it take to go from secondary water, which is what we use and what our trucks use to go fill up, and use in dust management by contractors and to clean our pipes. And what would it take to just go to tertiary cleaning, which is like what Las Colinas has, which turned out to be roughly $10,000 per acre foot. And we, just for the heck of it, we looked at what would it take to do direct potable reuse, where we would actually, MMWD on our property with our assistance would create total potable water to the tune of 4 million gallons a day, which we would pump right back into MMWD, and it's probably going to be the cleanest water that MMWD is going to have. It's going to take 10 years to get there. And by the way, 4 million gallons a day, I believe, is what we ship down from Sonoma Water every day. And I know that a lot of people are concerned about desal, the amount of power that it takes, but every day we're shipping a huge amount of water from Sonoma down to us, regardless of how it looks on a map, is not downhill and requires a tremendous amount of power to get here. And so with direct potable reuse, we would actually be using less power than that. And we would have, if we needed it, that Sonoma water just in case. And so it's my idea that I would like us to do that because it costs, I believe, remind me, I think it's
$2,900 an acre foot.
$2,900 per acre foot. So it's significantly less expensive to create potable water than it is to create tertiary water, which is what Las Colinas creates. We have a new revised personnel policy and procedures manual, just like we do with ours. And the only really giant change to that, aside from documenting what we did with the unions for their new contract, was a new unlawful harassment and discrimination policy, which I don't even remember whether we had one from before. We must have, but this was from our attorneys and it was completely replaced. So it's 100% new. And that's in the board packet. And that was the big important things. Anything else, Doug?
Well, we reviewed the general manager and gave him very high marks. We're very pleased with the general manager, Jason Dow. I wanted to go back a little bit and just say, on the feasibility of recycled water projects, I'd advise the board to take a look at that agenda item. It's number 6. Really, page 2 is really the interesting part, where it talks about direct potable resource, 2 million gallons, direct portable reuse for tertiary water stations. But then there's some other smaller items we could do, but they're unbelievably expensive in acre foot, and they're only tiny little itsy bitsy projects. So we had a very robust discussion on the CMSA board. And I'll say that the 2 members from Ross Valley, Michael and myself, were very, very strong on the big project. And I think that we have a majority view on that. On the CMS board, there were some thoughts that we could do some smaller projects, but I'm not necessarily in favor of that. I don't want to spend an awful lot of money on it, not much. I use the kind of arrogant, not really, I mean, it didn't come out in an arrogant way, but just kind of a silly thing that, you know, if we're just doing a gallon of recycled water, it's not worth it. We need to do something big. It's going to cost a lot of money, and we need to do something that's going to be ongoing.
Well, there was some concern, Doug is correct, there was some concern that we have to at least give the appearance that we're doing something. And I think mine and Doug and my opinions were that we are doing something, even though it's not building. And, you know, if we do something else, we're going to delay the DPR. And that's probably about 10 years out if we start today. So I think our feeling consensus among us was, let's get it done. And because the other suggestions just I didn't think were reasonable.
200,000 gallons a day.
Yeah,
for $11 million, and then $9,000 an acre foot. You know, I'd also say that the California Water Board regulations on direct potable reuse haven't been written. They should be out in February, so we have to kind of look at that too. But anyway, I would say that. That was
one thing. I'll report on it, Director Kelly. But actually, I'll report on it later. But the regulations have been drafted, so I'll give you some details. Yeah.
Okay, great. Good. Thank you.
You know, also, didn't the solids handling for the generation receive a large grant.
We got a large grant. That's right. And I'm going to tell you about that right now. Hang on. I'm trying to find it was mentioned in notes. Hang on. So why don't you go ahead and I'm going to find that.
Okay, I think it was in the millions of dollars.
Yeah, I think it was $2.5 million.
Yeah, fabulous.
$9 million available. So it was clearly a big deal. But
Yeah.
I want to just check and make sure that's correct.
Pamela, North Bay Watershed Authority. Do you have-
Yeah, we had a meeting on September, I think it was 2nd. We had a hybrid meeting. So they did Zoom and then we met, a bunch of us met in the boardroom. But we also did a tour. Jason was fabulous. In the tour, I am not an engineer, so you have to forgive me. But the tour was inside the digester. Is that right, Steve? It was a huge thing. And I feel so honored that I'm one of the people that got to see it, but it was fascinating. It was a lot of fun.
The CMSA plant, that's right.
Yes, and hold on, I'm just looking for what Jason, how he defined it, and I can't find it, of course. We also had a guest speaker who was part of the first of the meeting, and he talked about the causes and consequences of urban tap water trust and equity. It was fascinating. And it's amazing how disadvantaged people, very poor people, are still feeling the water, depending on where they live, I guess, is probably worse than other places, but they will not drink the tap water because of what happened in the communities at Flint and elsewhere. And there were other things he brought up. He's done a study. So it was a very fun meeting, I have to say. And Jason, what did he talk about? I can't find what he talked about. Oh, here it is. So he talked about mostly was the organic waste treatment, and we walked around the plant, and then the energy generation in the facility. So that's it.
If I might just add, Pamela, the fellow from UCLA was, I thought, very spectacular in his talk. And a couple things cracked me up or interested me very much. And one of them was that he said, look, there really is no such thing on the planet as fresh water. All water, it's a closed system, and everything that we drink has been somewhere over the past several billion years recycled in one form or another. So we're all drinking recycled water. And the two things he said was, you know, we're drinking, excuse me, dinosaur pee. And also somebody somewhere did a study that said every time you take a drink of water, you're drinking some of Julius Caesar's urine. So, you know, this idea of it's fresh water. And in fact, I was looking today at a glass, somebody gave me some fresh water in a plastic bottle. And I looked at it and said, minerals added for taste. So, you know, there is no such thing as pure water, and there is no such thing as fresh water. Everything is recycled. And at the last Casa meeting, one of the emphases that I heard is there is no such thing as wastewater. We can't waste anything, not one drop. And so they're trying to come up with new names for it. I think, Steve, you had heard some things about what it was going to be called. I heard NASA water, advanced treatment water, but not wastewater. So
very good. Okay, thanks. How about ad hoc education and outreach committee? Did you meet?
Yeah, we did. We met on July 21st.
July.
Did we go over this? Was this gone over at the last meeting? Because of course I didn't attend the August meeting as I was in Ireland.
Well, it was, yeah, it was originally scheduled for that day, but it was
Oh.
postponed to the September 8th.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm looking at the agenda, so I'm misremembering when it was, but
That's
yes, we
an
met.
old agenda.
So what we did, Courtney did a great job on this, and she may want to address this. But we discussed what we did in 2021, which was the website refresh, and the new call us first public service announcement. Because remember, somebody had seen a leak and called some plumbing company, and 36 hours later, the plumbing company got there. So we started a call us first. We reviewed that we did our 2 Comcast campaigns, the winter and the spring. There are at least 60,000 views, but I'm sure there was a lot more than that. I don't think there's any way of telling that. I saw a bunch of them, and I saw a bunch of them on YouTube. New web pages with the common laterals and the backwater prevention devices. And property sales mailers, when you're selling property, they're welcoming the new people. We noted that we have about 500 recipients of Steve's GM bulletin, and about 50% of those open it up and read it. So that's actually quite high. It's usually about 30%. We talked about new outreach goals for fiscal 22-23. Maybe refreshing some of our tabling supplies. And if you don't know what that is, that's the pamphlets that we put on tables when we're present at an event. We talked about doing some more events, but the problem is that some of these events have been canceled for 2022. And I think that we're going to have not much in the way of new outreach other than the television campaigns, which I think are critical at this point. I'm really glad we started them, and I think it's important we continue them. Again, by getting the other agencies to join in, it's not that expensive, and we can do this virtually forever. But the events like San Anselmo's Country Fair Day were totally canceled. So we do have a new easement initiative in coordination with vegetation management for access, and we're talking to fire department Central Marin, fire department Ross Valley, and Kentfield, and landowners to have an initiative for the vegetation management as well. Courtney, did I miss anything you want to talk about, or Pam?
That was pretty thorough.
No, I think that we did talk a little bit longer about outreach and public events and getting our faces out there and meeting the public more. I think we did talk more about that because that's kind of our history. And Courtney, maybe you can add, because I could not find my notes. So
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, we did try to kind of pool our thoughts on some events that we could do in person, because I do think those are kind of starting to kick up more. And I did speak with Mary Jo at Central Marin Sanitation Agency, and they have been doing an excellent job with Save Our Bay to do some tabling and outreach. And so got their list of events that they attend. And as Doug mentioned, many of them have been canceled, but one I have on my calendar for next summer is the Fairfax Eco Fest, because historically RVSD has tabled there in the past. So I think it'll be pretty easy to get a slot there again. So have that on our radar. And that was kind of a primary event of discussion, but also open to anyone of the board or staff. If there's other events you think RVSD can table at, happy to hear your input and get some staff and board members out there talking to the public is a big goal for this fiscal year.
Sure. What about those? I really like those big signs on the bike path, for example. Are they going to be revamped at all, or they're getting old? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I'm not familiar with that.
Nor am I. What do they say, Tom?
The banners that we have near the Kentfield pump station, for example. It's right on the bike path, and it's
Yeah, it's the campaign of don't flush wipes and
fog program. I think they're both there. Those are really a perfect spot for it, and every time I go by there, people are looking at it. So I think it's a good idea.
so Courtney, we talked about Casa Awards, and I think you asked if we find out about other awards to let you and Steve know. If I think I remember that.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, one thing that wasn't covered is we did submit an award for the award of excellence for capital improvement projects. And so we did submit that to CASA. We did not win, but the positive effect of submitting is we got mentioned in their brochure. And I think for the board members that attended the CASA conference, we were mentioned there. So that definitely puts our BSD in the spotlight. You don't need the gold medal to be a true winner. So that was helpful. And that kind of has spurred ideas for if there's any other applications that people come across. I'm still pretty new to the wastewater agencies and all of the awards. So if you see anything that you think we're applicable to and that we can apply to, feel free to submit that to me. I definitely have the CWEA awards on my radar. So I'm going to be submitting on behalf of the district for some of those awards, particularly the Collection System of the Year award, going to submit us for that. And then as well, and want to submit for Community Engagement Project of the Year in reference to our PSA videos and how we worked collectively with the sewerage agencies of Marin to fund and create these videos. And that's pretty unique. So gonna spin that in an application as well this year. But if there's anything else that you hear of, please feel free to reach out to Steve and I'm happy to take a look and see if we can apply the district to those awards.
That's excellent. Okay.
Yeah, we are still on the lookout for possible video ideas. You know, we did the Call Us First video last year. We were made aware of some videos that are one of our sister agencies, Castro Valley Sanitary District, has on their website, which are interviews of our collection system crew members out in the field and the work that they do. And so we're actually exploring doing that type of interview, kind of a ready for cable TV or YouTube type interviews of our staff. And so we're working on that for this year. It kind of builds on what we've done with our metrics report to shine more light on the day-to-day work that we do that keeps things flowing.
Very good.
Hey, Tom,
Yes.
I have one more second, just back to the CMSA. Good news, the agency received a 2.5 million Cal Recycle co-digestion grant. In the state budget, Cal Recycle has 9.5 million available for the grant program, and we received a grant for the liquid organic waste storage tank biogas expansion program that is currently out to bid. Joyce Jung, our associate engineer, did a fine job preparing the grant application. So that is a very big deal.
Yeah, you know, there's a real partnership between wastewater plants and you know, solid waste management on the point of organics, and the Senate bill, I think it's 1383, but the waste diversion requirements for solid waste handling agencies, they need a place to put it. And CMSA has significant digester capacity to accomplish it. You know, so all this talk about renewable energy that CMSA is doing, it's very exciting, but they're also managing organic waste that would otherwise go to landfill, cause GHG problems. You know, so there's a win-win-win-win-win type situation going on with the work at CMSA.
Isn't that a new state law too, that agencies are going to have to do?
Yeah,
that was my point. This SB 1383, you know, I forget the number, but you know, the waste diversion, very significant. It's revolutionizing solid waste management, and that's led to curbside recycling for compost and yard waste, you know, in communities throughout the state where it used to be, you know, limited to Bay Area communities and other urban places. It's now exploding because it's a very ambitious goal of something like 70%.
Right.
Organic diversion from landfills. It's a huge undertaking, and CMSA and other treatment plants are central to that challenge to use excess digesting capacity for this organic matter and make energy.
Yeah, fabulous. Okay, well, let's move on to item 9, verbal report by GM. You've given us a couple already, Steve. But
Very good. Yeah, I just a couple things here I wanted to mention. First of all, our board clerk is out this month and next month for welcoming a new family member at home, and which is all going very well, I understand. And so we're thrilled to hear that. So Felicia is the board clerk for the operations of the meeting management. We also want to really thank Christina Velasquez and Christina Winnicky for support doing clerk type functions, including an excellent job assembling the board packet this month, both the digital version and the paper version. And so thanks to the two Christinas that are with us here. So it's a team effort too, because our board clerk does a lot of work. Second, 1111 Anderson. Demolition activities are complete at the remodeling project and framing is underway. And we had some in the top floors largely done, but bottom floor still needs work. And so that's ongoing and moving forward. On target, on schedule. Third, I wanted to mention that we've received all of our leased vehicles that we ordered late last fiscal year, except one, right? Paul can correct me if I'm wrong, but we have the utility pickup trucks have been received, and these are leased vehicles. We have 6, and then we have the van that we received last fiscal year, 7 vehicles, and I believe there's one more pickup to go.
Yeah, there's one more, Steve, just to get delivered, but other than that, we've received the entire fleet, and then we're gonna sell back all the other vehicles that we were gonna replace out back with Enterprise. They'll take care of the resale for us as well.
Yeah, so that's going on right now. That's an active area where the trucks just recently got here. I think one came in today. And so we make sure we get everything set with the vehicles before the selling and, the offloading, but that's going to happen pretty much right away. And that's where, we'll receive a lot of the value of this new approach to the fleet. So thanks to Paul and Josh Hill for managing that process. And it takes a lot of shepherding, I use the word babysitting, so I don't know, but a lot of oversight. With Enterprise to get them to deliver these vehicles. Good work. We've been working in Memorial Park. Board member Kelly, you mentioned that you saw some work going on, and we're coordinating with the town. They're renovating the park. They're putting in new turf and new irrigation. We have a major trunk line that goes through there. There's a big intersection there, and it was unfortunately buried as a key node in our system of large sewers that we need access to. So we work with the town to come up with a creative solution. Fortunately, the manhole location is not right in a high traffic area. It's kind of in the far left center field of one of the diamonds. So thanks to Paul and Josh and staff, we have a creative solution to bring the manhole up, but not all the way up, and then put some artificial turf on top of the manhole so we can find it. And so we're working with the town on this creative solution, which I call the turf helmet.
That's not good.
More to come, but thanks to the town for working with us on this, because we really need access to this infrastructure to do our job. And then my last update is I did attend the water reuse conference and it was in person, which, you hear, the COVID restrictions are kind of going away, so we can meet in person again. Water reuse or water recycling of wastewater has an annual conference. It's attended by, and it was in San Francisco. And so I took advantage of being nearby and, working on our water recycling initiative here, to reuse water at CMSA for sewer cleaning, but also the issues you have been reporting on the opportunities for potable reuse at CMSA as well as non-potable. So I went there to track information, and one of the highlights, there's many highlights. There were 600 people that attended, including folks here from Las Colinas that manage a great recycled water plant distribution system. CMSA staff were there. Marin Municipal Water District was not there. They did not attend. But we had, 600 different people from academic, local government, and one of the most highly attended technical sessions was an update from the Division of Drinking Water from the State Water Board on the direct potable reuse regulations. They were drafted early this year and released and have been being discussed. San Diego had some substantive comments in their presentations on things they'd like to be fine tuning of the proposed regulations. State law requires these regulations to be adopted by the end of 2023, and it appears it's all systems go and they're right on track to adopt these regulations on time. So to the board members' points, yes, if this is a serious undertaking, the time to begin planning direct potable reuse at CMSA was yesterday, because it's going to take a long time. And the advice from experts in the area say 3 things you need to do immediately. 1, public outreach should be going on now about how safe and economical DPR is. 2, should be working with the regulators now. Work with DDW to figure out, what kind of source control and what kind of technology and monitoring needs to be put into place. And then 3, cooperative relationships between the water district and the wastewater agencies. That needs to be a constant collaborative effort for a successful project. So those are some great pointers that I picked up. I was there for 3 days from Sunday through Tuesday last week. I've learned everything from what Metropolitan Water District is doing to Soquel Creek and Santa Cruz. Even San Mateo is looking at using Crystal Springs Reservoir to put recycle water. Santa Clara Valley Water District is aiming to do 80% direct potable reuse, 20% indirect potable reuse in the next 10, 20 years. There are many, many details of many projects underway. And it's a great time that CMSA was really on the ball to do their study and contribute to this, this response that the governor is encouraging communities to take very seriously. So with that, it's exciting, and we were asked to become a member of Water Reuse, and so I think that might be a good idea for us to stay on top of these things, and I sure appreciate the board members that serve on CMSA for continuing to advocate for safe and sustainable water recycling.
What was the name of that conference again, Steve?
Yeah, it's the Water Reuse of California.
Okay.
And the National Water Reuse Association just added 3 members in 2022, including they call it the Mid-Atlantic, in South Carolina and New Mexico. So they just added those groups, and there's a Pacific Northwest, there's Texas, Arizona, and California is by far the furthest ahead because of all the work in Orange County that really pioneered potable reuse.
So
and Orange County is expanding to full recycling. It's a very detailed story and how they funded it and everything else, and how they've been doing these 30 MGD improvements, and now they're going to recycle every drop of the wastewater that comes through the Orange County sanitary plant, which is 130 MGD. So.
Excellent. Okay, and we're going to become members, right, Steve? Yeah.
Yes. Being good water recyclers that we are.
Excellent. Item 10, verbal report by board members and requests for future items. Does any board member have anything they want to tell us about? Okay, seeing none. Let's move on to 11, the consent calendar. Matters listed under this item are considered routine and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless requested by a member of the board or the public. Would anyone like to pull any of the items?
Yeah, I would. It's very minor. Page 3 of 11B.
Okay, which item?
11B as in boy.
Okay, monthly financial statement, yeah, B.
Page 3. But there's
Okay, let's go
two.
to 11B.
Yeah, and then page, oops, the same LB, oh, yeah, page 13, very minor.
Okay, then let's go to page 3, 11B. Anything, any other items that anyone would like to pull?
No.
Okay, just B. Okay, page 3 of the, so board packet 13.
Oh, I have one question about the consent calendar, and this is for Andrea. When we're voting for this ballot initiative to amend for the state constitution, isn't that a roll call vote? If we don't pull it,
Well,
we have to pull it, right?
No, not, no, it's not any
Because
different
consent
from
calendar
the
is
other
roll call.
items. And since we're doing roll call anyway for the entirety of it, under the Brown Act,
Okay.
it will be a roll call.
Okay, thanks. That's all.
Okay, so page 3.
Yeah, it's just a quick comment. So I still haven't digested this thing. I mean, I need to review it probably a couple more times. But just the only thing that stands out, if I was a public member, you have these low percentage items like other operating income and I don't know what that is. Is that pointed out somewhere in this information?
So on page 2, in the third paragraph down.
That's right, President Gaffney. Director Meggs, the narrative description of revenue is on the preceding page. And other income is comprised of lease fees, investment
I'm
income,
sorry.
and
I didn't see
miscellaneous income.
Okay.
It's okay, and it's a lot to digest.
Yeah, page 2. Okay, I was probably looking for it after this or something.
And
Okay,
actually,
and
we wanted to add the word operating, other operating income. Now, remember, that was at the finance.
That's right. We have that note.
Okay, and then on page 13, when you talked about this paragraph towards the end, 1, 2, 3, 4, I think it's the 5th paragraph. There were fund transfers between cash accounts to facilitate specific cash payments based on the parameters of the trust agreements. I got lost in that whole paragraph. And so maybe Felicia, maybe you and I can just talk about it. I didn't understand.
Absolutely.
I didn't get it. And if I don't get it, well.
I completely understand.
The public may not. It just kind of was leading down in sort of a path I couldn't follow.
Staff's available to answer questions from the board or from the public at any time.
Great. And the only other thing is the small print on the last page of it. Can you make it bigger?
Where's that, Pamela?
The
Check register,
the last page.
Credit card detail?
credit card detail.
Yeah. Thank you. That's it.
Yes. So
Well,
noted.
Why don't you explain the page 13? There were fund transfers between cash account splits. Why don't
Yeah.
give us a quick explanation?
Sure, we can do that. So during the course of the fiscal year, the district has made, as the board directed, additional transfers to the to pay down the pension obligation, not the pension obligation, but the unfunded pension liabilities. And so in order to do that within our available funds, we dipped into our operating reserves, which are unrestricted funds, and allowed us to do that. But we will top up those operating reserves through the rest of the fiscal year. Corey, did I?
Yeah, can I add just one more
Please,
point?
yes, please add to that.
Yeah, so just in terms of August, when it comes to fund transfers, or I guess cash transfers more than anything, it's not really fund transfers per se. If you look at page 12 of the monthly report, you'll see in the column called transfers, that you'll see that the net cash change is 0 for obvious reasons. We're not really gaining or losing cash. We're just moving from our operating account, or we're transacting between the operating account, which is a Bank of Marin, with our mainly our Canyon Road trust accounts, to pay off or to make the debt service payment that we have with our limited obligation bond. Remember that in years past, the district, I think it's 2006, helped facilitate the issuance of a sewer assessment district limited obligation bond, which case the district serves as trustee for the trust agreements to administer the payments for payments on behalf of the sewer assessment district.
Thank you, Corey. That was actually a more accurate description of that.
Yeah.
That particular
Isn't
fund
that bond,
transfer.
isn't that bond paid off?
No, it's not paid off till I think 3 more years, then it's gone.
This is the Fairfax.
Yes, Fairfax assessment bond for Canyon Road.
Why did I think it was paid off? Oh, well, okay, thank you.
And it's a 20-year bond, so 2026 is when that finally is paid.
And I just want to say those people are very happy. Believe it or not, they are happy that was done, because now other people want to, and I don't think they can tie in, or maybe they can, I don't know.
Yeah, a great lesson to remember to tell people that sewers make people happy.
Yes.
Since you mentioned that, I'll just point out very briefly, going back, we did direct placement bonds at CMSA, and we got 3.36%. A week later, another agency got 4.3, and 2 days after that, an agency got 4.9. So we got a great deal over there.
Yep.
That could have been in the CMSA report.
I know. I was thinking about it, but I figured.
Okay, great. Yeah, so, in Finance Committee, when that's one of the things Mary and I have been working on. There's been a big transition in this financial accounting, I think for the better, but we've got to get used to it. It's a little bit different. And so we're working on it. And we kind of nitpick it in the Finance Committee to try our ideas out. And anyway, so that's a good comment. All right, let's see.
I'd move to approve the consent calendar.
Okay, thanks, Doug. And second by Michael. Any further discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Director Borstein,
Yes.
Director Kelly,
Yes.
Director Meggs,
Yes.
Director Silla,
Yes.
President Gaffney.
Yes. Okay, let's move on to what do we have here? Okay. Item 12, consideration of adopting resolution 22-1633, adopting a mitigated negative declaration for the fiscal year 22-23 gravity sewer improvement project, number 953. So item 12. And Steve, you're going to introduce that.
Yes, thank you very much, President Gaffney. And with us, we have Bridget DeShields, our consultant from Integral Environmental, helps us with preparation of the environmental documents. As you probably noticed, we didn't print the whole ISMND for the paper copy, but it is available in full on the digital version of the board packet. And any kind of project requires disclosure of environmental impacts under CEQA. And there are different levels. Some of our work is categorically exempt. But when there's a potential impact, and in this case, with our Gravity 22-23 project, we have potential impacts to cultural resources, mostly, Bridget, you can correct me if I'm wrong. But we found that there were no significant unavoidable impacts, and we have a mitigation and monitoring program to make sure that happen, that nothing significant happens as a result of our sewer rehabilitation project. So we need to adopt this before getting the project kicked off. And so we have that, this item 12 preceding any approval of the awarding of the contract to construct the project. So we did work with, as part of cultural resources in AB 52, we consulted with the local Native American tribe, which is Federated Indians of Great and Rancheria, and received some guidance on some archaeological study that would precede the construction in specific areas that have a higher potential for cultural resources to be found. So we are working with them cooperatively. And I think, but overall, we didn't receive any public comments on the proposed, on the ISMND. There's a 30-day comment period for public to review. And so we do recommend adoption. And Bridget, I would invite you to provide any additional comments on the process and the content of the environmental documents.
I think you covered it very well, Steve. So yeah, the mitigation measures in the document are mainly to address cultural resources. We also have a measure for nesting birds, which is one that we pretty much always have for these types of projects. And as Steve said, we work cooperatively with the Native American community to get their input on the mitigation measures for cultural resources.
Well, I notice you've also got a mitigation for what do you call it? Non-Native Americans, just other bodies that may be found.
Yeah, that's a pretty standard mitigation measure if we find human remains of any type.
Okay.
Yeah, the underground is a mysterious place.
Any board discussion? Anyone like to comment?
Yeah, I have a question. Bridget, I'm sorry, I didn't quite hear what you said about the birds.
For most of the projects the district does, especially when we're working around trees that could have nesting birds, we have a mitigation measure in there for looking for nesting birds prior to implementation of the work, and we have it in there as a standard measure. However, the nesting season is actually over.
March to August.
Yeah, it ended at the end of August, so we won't actually have to implement that. If the work had to happen, say it started earlier or it extended later into the spring for some reason, some aspect had to be extended into next year, then we would, or the winter or the spring, we would then perform nesting bird surveys prior to the work being conducted.
Okay, yeah, it's a federal law. On the bird. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. And are you cutting a bunch of trees for all of this work, or no?
No, very, very unlikely. You know, now and then something may happen where we need to dig a pipe bursting pit, but this project is almost all, I think it might be all trenchless. Our senior engineer,
No.
he had to leave the meeting because he's teaching a class at junior college tonight. But the impact of this particular rehabilitation is pretty light because we're just digging pits. So for like a 350-foot long run between manholes, we're just digging these 10-foot pits on either side, right? So the majority of the line is trenchless and has no impact except for those spots where we put the laterals back in.
Okay. Yep.
So it's pretty rare in a pipe bursting project to have to remove trees.
Okay. People are very hypersensitive right now over trees because of the fire people and PG&E. So
yeah.
And just so you know, usually each town municipality, they have a tree ordinance. So it all depends on if it's, a heritage tree versus not, and the size and all that. But I'm sure you know all that. So, okay, thank you.
Well, that's right, Director Meggs, and and I know we do look at that, and it can be a significant impact if we have to do a new trench through someplace and have to remove a tree. And
yeah, a big fat fine.
It puts us on the hook to replant, right, Bridget? I mean, we have to have some kind of mitigation for loss of habitat.
I think in this, as you mentioned, Steve, we don't really anticipate any removal of trees, maybe some trimming, but not any removal.
I'm sorry to bug you more, but Do they look at special species in the area? Do you guys do that? You do all that, Bridget? All
Yeah,
right.
the biological section of the mitigated of the initial study looks at all. We have a biological assessment, full biological assessment. There's
Okay.
you want to read all about it. There's an attachment on the initial study mitigated deck, and it lists all the species that were looked at in the area, and each one of the special status species, there's an evaluation of whether there would be a potential impact. And the finding in this case was there would not be a potential impact on any of those species as a result of the project.
Yeah, you're going into like 4 or 5 different cities, right? Towns.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you, Bridget.
Yeah.
Any further comment by any board member? Okay, hearing none, I'd like a motion to approve, to adopt a resolution.
I'd move to adopt resolution number 22-1633, adopting a mitigated negative declaration for fiscal year 22-23 gravity sewer improvement project, which is project number 953.
Second,
Okay, any further discussion? And I don't see any public. Okay, roll call vote, please.
Director Borstein,
yes.
Director Kelly,
Yes.
Director Meggs,
Yes.
Director Silla,
Yes.
President Gaffney.
Yes. Okay, let's move on to item 13, consideration of awarding and authorizing the GM upon review and approval of council to execute a construction contract for the fiscal year 22-23 gravity sewer improvement project, number 953, with Glossage Engineering in the amount not to exceed $1,974,857. And this is item 13. And Phil and Steve, but Phil's going.
Yeah, Phil went to be a professor. So I'll do the best I can. Yeah, this was a favorable bid that was received, as you can see in the staff report. This project, which you just adopted the environmental documents for, and there's some nice maps in here, courtesy of Ardura, formerly NV5. We do appreciate their graphics. To give you a sense of where these lines are that we're going to replace. They are around around the district, and that's a reflection of the IAMP, the Infrastructure Asset Management Plan scoring process, based on risk, that we went through the last couple of years. And so this project translates a lot of the highest scores or the highest risk score assets. And guess what? They're all over the district, right? They're not in one neighborhood necessarily, but there is a bit of a cluster of these up in the Alameda, Deer Hollow area near Butterfield. We're just seeing the Sleepy Hollow sewer system really needs a lot of work. And so we had an overflow there. Interesting story, the whole Call Us First video. Came out of this sewer, the Alameda, where we have kind of a bottleneck. It's a downstream of other upgrades we did upstream of here, and so the sewer necks down, and it resulted in more of a higher risk of blockage. That resulted in water coming out of somebody's clean out near their house. And instead of calling us, they called a plumber, and it went on for 6 hours while the plumber came out and ended up going into the creek. And so we had an SSO reportable category 1 that was avoidable if they would have called us first. And this was right on this Alameda line that we're now going to fix the bottleneck on. So everything's connected.
Yep.
So anyway, this getting back to the item, we received 5 bids, and they were all under the engineer's estimate quite a bit. I think there was, with inflation and everything, and materials and supply chain issues, the engineer's estimate was pretty high, and it ended up not really bearing out. And I think at time of the year, there's more competition for work at this time going into the wet season. And pipe bursting is a lower risk method for wet season construction. So we took that calculated risk. And we ended up getting a great cluster of low bids by good contractors. You know, I would say 4 out of these 5 contractors we would love to hire for any job. And so that's great. You know, we have contractors that we want to work with bidding on our projects and giving us good prices. So we're excited about this item. We're excited to work again with Glossage. They've been very responsive. You approved a change order in June for work that got done very efficiently and quickly and with little disruption to the Kent Woodlands neighborhood. It's complete now. You know, and they really work well with us and our construction manager. They're very confident in difficult terrain pipe bursting in people's backyards. And there's one site here in the map show Wolf Grade and Sir Francis Drake. You know, this board packet, page 111. There is no contractor I've ever worked with that I'd rather have working in this intersection than Glossage, because of just how quickly they work and how the local governments around here appreciate their paving. And that's a big deal, you know, that Glossage does their paving in-house, and the local governments around here know them and approve of their work. And that's important for us to be able to walk away from the job with a happy local government with the paving work. So those are just some examples. They usually go quicker than schedule. And so if weather permitting, we should be wrapping this thing up in February. And we'll see how it goes. But we're glad to recommend to you that to award this contract to Glossage. This will be the 3rd job that we've done with them in the last 3 years. They did Laurel Grove, and they did the 2021 gravity sewer, which I believe will be bringing notice of completion next month because they completed that woodland work that you approved. And so I think it's a good story, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any comments or questions by board members?
No, I'm just happy to see that, you know, we did talk about putting this out to bid at the winter, you know, fall winter season and taking a risk, and looks like we saved a lot of money by doing that. And so I think that's the right choice. Pipe bursting is not that big a deal.
You know, Michael and I went to the bid opening, and I highly recommend it for board members. It takes not very long at all, but it's very interesting to see the bids come in, and you know, it was actually quite exciting because they came in so low, and we were very pleased. And I think, yeah, we'd like to commend Steve and Phil for doing this project in the winter, and maybe we ought to, I think, continue that in the future if it's these pipe bursting projects. So if there aren't any more questions.
Can I ask about this bidding, what you're talking about, Tom?
Yeah.
Is it just like on the computer or what is it exactly?
Yeah, I'll say, at a certain time at the front room of the, it was 2 o'clock in the front room of the RVSD headquarters. There were 5 bid packages that had arrived earlier, but you can submit a bid package up until the instant of 2 o'clock when the bids start to be opened. And some of the contractors were there, some of them weren't. Phil stands up in front and he opens each one, and the clerk records who it was and the amount. And up until that point, the bids are not open. That's the first time anybody sees them. And when they opened this one from Glossage, I remember looking over at Steve and his jaw dropped at how low it was. So it was fun to be there in person and watch that.
Yeah.
No poker face for you, huh?
I thought I had a poker face. Exactly.
Yeah, well,
Wait, what?
is this the wrong bid? Was this for another one?
Oh, that's funny.
Hey, Steve, I'm having a poker game this weekend. Here's the details.
Well, you know, to answer Pamela's question directly, sometimes the bids are delivered, you know, like a day before, and sometimes they're brought in 3 minutes before, with somebody watching the bid, and contractors watch and public is invited. It's a completely open process.
It's also virtual. Phil sets up a Zoom call so that people can call in and see him open the bids on the computer camera. So it's a hybrid event these days.
Oh,
Excellent.
great. Thanks.
Wouldn't that be nice if in our new boardroom, we could do something like that? Oh, wait a minute.
Hey, Steve, that'd be a great thing to let the board members know. Because I didn't know it was on Zoom. And if people.
Yeah, I'll
kind of fun.
find out. I'll find out more. Phil's kind of got that whole thing set
Excellent.
up, so I'll ask him about the ability to do that. Yeah.
Okay. So if there's no further questions, there's no public.
I will motion that we award and authorize the general manager upon review and approval of council to execute the construction contract for the fiscal year 22-23 gravity sewer improvements project to the lowest responsive and responsible bidder, Glossage Engineering, Inc., in the amount not to exceed $1,974,857.
Second,
Excellent. We have a motion and a second. If there's no further questions, roll call vote, please.
Yes, Director Borstein,
Yes, ma'am.
Director Kelly,
Yes.
Director Meggs,
Yes.
Director Silla,
yes.
President Gaffney.
Yes. Okay, let's move on to item 14. So let's see, we've done the negative deck, we've hired the contractor, and now
Yep.
we're considering approving the general manager to approve a task order with Somas in the amount of $386,463 for construction management services for the fiscal year 22-23 gravity sewer improvement project.
Yes, and thank you, President Gaffney. Justin Seufert couldn't make it here tonight, but he did attend the Finance Committee and provided some overview. He's assisted us with construction management on 1 or 2 projects a year going back for 5 or 6 years, before I was here. And he really carries himself as if he worked here at the district. He's a really reliable owner representative, working with other local governments and working with landowners. And so he's really, we're glad that to recommend him. He's available to assist with this project. They worked with, Somas worked with Glossage on the Laurel Grove project. So there's a working relationship there that goes back. And I know that they were happy to hear Glossage getting a little bit as well. So we've confirmed that as you see in the proposal, that the same personnel will be available for the inspections as well as the project management. And his name is Martin, and I can't forget his last name, but I know him because he's been on our Shady Lane projects, and then Laurel Grove, and lastly on the Butterfield work. So he'll be a familiar face to the community on Alameda and Deer Hollow over by Butterfield. And he has a personable countenance and personality, as a good representative of the district as well. So the price comes in a little on the high side. We discussed it at Finance Committee, that it's related to the contract time. So it really is a budget, assuming that the whole contract time is used. Our educated guess on this is it will not all be used because of the nature of the contractor. This is Glossage's really doesn't linger. They move quickly and try to get out. So if there aren't significant weather delays, I anticipate not expending this whole budget. But it's just a matter of practice to provide that type of budget for the number of contract days that are in the contract, which was a little on the conservative side. So with that, I recommend awarding this task order and contract to Somas to assist us on another successful project delivery.
Well, Mr. Seifert did appear at the Finance Committee, and he was, very happy that Gossage was the winning bidder. And so, and then we've seen him at our board meeting, Seifert, for a long time, many different meetings. Any board member comments, questions?
I have one.
Yes, Pamela.
This is kind of weird. So the one we just voted on, in the discussion section, they're almost identical. I'm just curious about that. Because they're both saying 1.25 miles of existing gravity. This is a rehab. And the other one says the same. But I'm assuming since one's $1 million and one's only 300, there must be a small project.
No, one is to supervise the construction and one is to do the construction.
Okay, sorry. All right, thank
That's
you.
fine.
In essence, we're hiring an inspector,
Yeah,
an inspecting firm.
they'll just manage that program, that rehab by itself, right?
They managed the last one as well.
Yeah, okay. I get
Yeah, this has turned out to be a really good approach, I think, for an agency our size. A larger agency can do more in-house construction management, but that means dedication of personnel, every day. You really can't walk away and let the contractor just do what they do. They often will make, field calls that aren't in the benefit of the owner. They're really in the benefit of their own self-interest. And so having the CM is an insurance policy for us that our standards are being implemented. Again, the whole thing about underground being very mysterious. The contractor can lose things underground and we don't have X-ray vision. So having the CM out there makes sure that we've got an owner representative. If not ourselves, we have an owner representative watching their work at all times.
Yeah, I remember the problem in Fairfax, and without that manager at that narrow road site, you had to block traffic. Without him talking to people, yes, they're well needed. Thank you.
Well, and we also had an instance before I came on the board of debris in one of the pipes as a result of a contractor leaving some stuff in there. And a general manager at the time who said he thought it might be an instance of domestic terrorism.
Eco-terrorism.
Eco-terrorism, that's right. Thank you, Michael. Steve, you just said a moment ago that that estimate was conservative in terms of number of days. That means in a larger number of days rather than a lower number of days, right?
That's right. Yeah, exactly. It kind of more of a worst case. I think we could have shaved it back maybe a little bit because of the pace of pipe bursting versus open cut, but we're going into the wet season, so
We hope.
there could be delays related to weather, and so it was a balancing act. But I think on the conservative side, as far as the contract,
I just wanted to understand when people say conservative, I usually think lower in number, but
right. Yeah, it's more of a conservative mindset that I'm giving some assuming more times necessary than may be. Yeah.
A conservative estimate is a higher number.
Yes.
Okay.
For time. Yeah.
Well, having a construction manager, we're spending millions of dollars on projects, and somebody can shuffle a project around. You spend millions of dollars and get a lousy project. That's a complete waste. So having a construction manager, and they're watching everything, they're there the whole time. It's worth it.
Yeah, and they can help. We get things that come up and they provide an initial response, but they can put the brakes on things and get the owner to the site, and it's just a good intermediary.
One of the speeches at Casa, the last Casa conference, one of the engineers was surprised that sewers that were put in were only 20 years old, were failing in another agency, I think down south. And probably as a result of not carefully inspecting the work. So it's definitely worth it. Yes. Good.
So I just want to ask Steve, normally a construction management project is about 15%. We're about 19.5. Is that right?
Yeah, compared to the low bid. Compared to the engineer's estimate, it was more like 11%. So you see that big disparity. The percentages fly around a lot depending on what your basis is. So from the engineer, Harrison Associates thought this was going to be a $3.45 million job, and it was only a $1.97 million job.
All right. Well, let's find out what it ends up being for this construction management at the end. I'd be interested to hear.
Yeah, and Corey will be able to spit that thing out like nobody's business. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we'll definitely be interested ourselves. I don't think we need this level of budget, but again, conservative based on contract data.
Yeah.
Doug, we talked about that at Finance Committee, and what it is, if you look at page 136, it's just a time allowance.
Yeah, I understand that. I got that.
Yeah, it's 100% based on how long the project, virtually 100%. So hopefully, if it doesn't last that long, it'll be less. That's the plan.
Yeah, and we can show that, and we'll look at some other projects too. We'll put a little table together for you so you get a feel for how the actuals come out.
Okay.
Another idea we had for Steve is that the whole project is based on time of the people assigned. So this is a negotiated contract, and so perhaps just getting some reviews of hourly rates of other firms would ensure that this is we're getting a good deal on this project. Are there any further questions or comments?
I'm prepared to make a motion.
Yes.
I'd move to approve and authorize the general manager upon review and approval of council to approve task order number 8 with Selmas Inc. in the total amount of $386,463 for construction management services for the fiscal year 2023 gravity sewer improvement project, which again is project 953.
Second,
Okay, if there's no more comments, roll call, please.
Director Borstein,
Yes.
Director Kelly,
Yes.
Director Meggs,
Yes.
Director Silla,
yes.
President Gaffney.
Yes. Thank you. Okay, let's move on to item 15, consideration of authorizing the GM upon review and approval of council to execute a purchase agreement in the total amount of $144,850 to Riverside International Truck Shred 2023 International HV Cab Chassis and Rotor Body Retrofit.
Thank you. I'll be handing this off to Paul. I'll just note that the board did approve this purchase in this year's budget on the order of about $265,000 based on our preliminary estimates that we had at the time. And so you'll note that the amount is substantially lower than that amount, thanks to some good work from Paul and Josh and the operations folks. So Paul, I'd like you to go ahead and introduce the item. If your audio works. It's okay if not, because you can hang up and call back in probably, right, Felicia?
Yeah, he might just need to choose another microphone if he's using a laptop and monitor with audio. So go to audio settings and choose a different microphone.
Yeah, Paul was wondering why nobody was responding to his comments.
He was making jokes and no one was laughing.
Yeah.
Well, that happens to me all the time anyway.
Yeah, but I don't mind. Oh, there we go. Oh, not yet. Testing?
Yeah, we try it, Paul.
Yeah, you could try, I mean, I don't know. You could hang up and then come back in.
Right.
That sometimes works. Yeah,
Or you just call in.
or just
Just
call
use
in.
the phone number.
Yeah.
That's what I did earlier tonight.
Yeah, while we're waiting for Paul, I'll note, we have the rodder, and it's not our main way of cleaning blockages, but it's a tool in our toolbox. It used to be the main way in the 90s, maybe the late 80s, for the district to mechanically rod. They're these 10 or 12 foot metal rods that are attached to each other that are then pushed into the sewer. It's a good system for very tough roots, big root balls, certain kinds of blockages, that are more like, the fatbergs, right? Director Borstein from London, those kind of things.
Yep.
Yeah.
There we go. I think Paul's with us. So rodder is a good tool in the toolbox. It's not our main thing. Hydrojetting is our main thing now for cleaning sewers, but this is something that we really value, and the existing rodder and mechanism works fine. It's just the vehicle that's kind of crumbling under it in the cab.
Yeah,
So
sorry about that.
that's what we're working on. Okay, so now I'm going to hand off to Paul.
Thanks for jumping in there, Steve. So
You bet.
covering the importance of the rodder and its mechanical uses, the clear blockages and everything else, I'm assuming, Steve, thank you very much. We went over this in last year's budget due to Bay Area air quality new regulations. Of course, we're trying to get to a cleaner world and operating in a better place. So our old 2001 chassis no longer meets Bay Area air quality requirements. While we can operate in an emergency, they ask us not to, just on the minimum. So we did find a vendor to switch over the mechanical equipment to a new chassis. We found a 2023 International chassis, which it does have quite a lead time, about 12 to 13 months. So it's going to be a little bit, but we want to get in the queue, so we're ready to go. We found a American Truck and Trailer by Sacramento, and they'll do the retrofit for $58,000, saving us right around $120,000 from our anticipated budget. So due to some of the responses we got from other vendors for the cab chassis, we got outright refused from one of the contractors who initially quoted this. So it's a reputable company that's willing to do it. They build the majority of PG&E's fleets up in Sacramento, fire trucks, the whole works. So I've worked with them in the past, and they're very good vendors. So I recommend the board authorizing this item.
Any questions from the board, comments?
In the finance committee, I noted that this, as you read along, the price just keeps going down and down and down.
Yeah.
It seemed like maybe they were going to pay us to take the rodder from them by the end.
Well, and a new rodder costs about $500,000 right now, if you could probably even get one built. So it's a really good savings to rehab this piece of equipment.
And aren't we going to see if we can fill in the chassis, the old chassis, or you mentioned possibility?
We can auction it off. It can't be operated in California, but someone may buy it and take it to Nevada or a mine somewhere. You never know. So yeah, there's ways of getting rid of those.
Okay. Well, it's below our budget and it's an item we need. We're getting some backfeed. Any other comments by board or others? One thing I noticed that the bid, it doesn't include tax or fees. So I think we should, in the motion, mention an amount of plus tax fees. Anybody interested in the motion here?
Okay, so I'll make that. I would move to authorize the general manager upon review and approval of council to execute a purchase agreement in the total amount of $144,850 plus tax and fees to Riverview International Trucks for a 2023 International HV cab chassis and rotor body retrofit.
Second,
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. If there's no further roll call, please.
Director Borstein,
Yes.
Director Kelly,
Yes.
Director Meggs,
Yes.
Director Silla,
yes.
President Gaffney.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Let's move to item 16A, our excellent performance matrix.
Oh, yes, so I don't have anything jumping off the pages to me to report, other than, just appreciate the narrative that Paul helps pull together each month, and I'm going to ask him to give you some highlights. I do note that we were a little higher on potable water use in the summer than recycled water use, but I believe that's attributable to overtime cleaning that we were doing to really catch up on some backlog. And so there's not really an ability to drive all the way back to CMSA when we're doing that much more cleaning. So it's a little bit of a blip. I don't think it reflects like the long-term use. I'll just make that note. We had one SSO, which this is one of those SSOs that was caused by somebody losing a sewer popper cap down through a lateral into our main. And so I think, what we're doing with our, and Paul, you can speak to this, but we have a welcome to the district package when new homeowners come in that Courtney's helped with too. And it includes this backflow prevention device, regular maintenance. And so this was a case where somebody didn't know what they were doing, and the backflow prevention device ended up causing the overflow. That's on our page that was mentioned in the Outreach and Education Committee. We have a backflow prevention device page that educates people on proper maintenance of these systems that they own. And that goes with the welcome to the district package as well. So we take basically the screenshot from the web page, have a nice little one pager that goes in the booklet, right? So, or in the handout. But anyway, those are just some highlights, and hand it over to Paul. If there's anything you want to report to the board.
Yeah, thank you. It's been a busy month of August. We did a lot of the wet well cleaning, grit pits, just doing a lot of preventative maintenance, keep the debris out of the force mains and the pumps. Working with Wes Yost and engineering that's doing hydraulic model updating. So we're doing a lot of information on make, model, serial number, pump horsepower, and whatnot, so they can work on the new designs. So we can do a new hydraulic model for the system. I know Steve's been working on that with, so we're just delivering the input. Staff recently found a storm drain that was piped directly through one of our manholes, and due to a little more inspection, found the whole bottom of it had been rotten out through the weather and whatnot, and it's just a large chance of I&I through the system there. So we're working with the county of Marin to facilitate the repairs there in that manhole before the wet weather comes. They're looking at doing a liner through the storm drain. So it's a really good project. Got to meet one of their new supervisors over there, Kip. Did a field meet. The repair crew found a couple buried manholes over on Brookside Elementary School, which was a good find. We're always looking for lost nodes and missing rod holes, so it makes a difference to find those so we can maintain the system the way we need to. So we're ever searching for manholes and nodes that may have gotten covered by landscaping or whatnot. We've been doing a big uptick recently with the lateral program. using the CCTV crews as they're TVing our pipes for defects. We're also looking up at lateral connections to look for sources of rocks, roots, heavy grease, anything that may be an issue with their lateral. Or we have a lot of crushed Ys right at the connection, or people have hammered in taps and just stuffed the pipe in. So we're reaching out to residents to try to notify them of defects before they fail or back up in the streets or add debris into the sewer main. So in this last month, we've found at least 10 with visible void defects. So it's been a big push to try to get out.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. And this is really an outgrowth of corrective action for SSOs. You know, the water board expects some kind of response if we're seeing a pattern. And if you look back at the SSOs over the last 3 years, you see a lot of lateral caused SSOs, you know, with rock coming in. I just mentioned the sewer cap of all things, you know,
Yeah.
And so by this work that Paul is directing the crew to do is a follow-up for any defects that are on private sewer laterals that are risks of causing an SSO in our main system. And so this is an important compliance type initiative that relates to a business plan objective that we've had for a couple of years. And so Paul's really started this, you know, something that we've been wanting to do, whether it be smoke testing or other condition assessment information to get compliance with our lateral ordinance. So I think this is exciting direction. You know, it's going to make a difference in terms of less SSOs and less I&I.
Steve, I was just going to ask about that, and Paul as well, about smoke testing. Are we ramping that up, or what's the situation on how much smoke testing we're doing or planning on doing this coming fiscal year?
Currently, we don't have a large plan for smoke testing right now. We're really focusing on all the grade 5 repairs and a lot of the CCTV. We're up to like our 10-year inspection increments on a lot of our sewer mains. So we want to get into those pipes that haven't been viewed in 8 years, 10 years. So we're really working to do those, but we did do some smoking over at the Redwood High School. They have a small submersible pump station that we found that pumps over to Diane Lane. And during heavy rains and whatnot, it overwhelms our system. So we've been having to monitor it and set up bypass pumping and whatnot. So we worked with the school over there and did some smoke testing and didn't find any large cross connections from drains on the field or in the grass. So it seems to be just that sewer system that's pumping into Diane Lane and overwhelming it. So come to find out, the school district's actually on SD2's map there in their district. So I'm working with David O'Connor of the school district over there to try to find a reroute, hopefully, over to I forget the street right now offhand, I'm sorry, but right across one of the easements right over there. It looks like they can tie into SD2. So it is helping. We are doing a little bit of smoke testing, and it's something we can look at if need be.
Yeah, that's a good answer, Paul. I mean, you know, we do have different condition assessments and ways to identify defects that are in the private lateral system besides smoke testing. It's one of our tools, and when we do use it strategically and will in the future.
Okay.
You know, I have a question. We see these node designations. And so like if you go to the top of page 4 of 18 of the report, it says within node, and then it's L 157.040. So I suppose the L stands for Larkspur.
Yeah, we usually follow it up right after, you know, you see in Kentfield. So yeah, any letter that's before a number, which is a manhole or a underground line, designates with that city. So Larkspur, K is Kentfield, S is San Anselmo. We can put a little key on there if you'd like with all the different cities and the little acronyms.
Okay, but what's the 157? L 157
That would be line 157.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, there's a hierarchy, it starts at sort of the bottom of the system, like at Larkspur Pump Station, right?
Mhm.
And then it goes zeros or 100s or 200s. And then as you go kind of up the branches of the
You get-
sewer shed,
Yeah,
you get
the
into
number.
things like 700s and 600s.
Okay,
And so you just have to, it's a bit arbitrary, you just walk up the map. So you can find things pretty fast using that logic. Like there's a butter, so Sleepy Hollow, since this has an S, we use the letter H for Sleepy Hollow. And then, so the lineup Butterfield, when you get into Sleepy Hollow, is HOOO, right? And then you work your way up. By the time you get up to Van Winkle, you're at 700 or something like that.
okay, but what's 0.040 then?
So those are then, we use the increments of 10 for each manhole going upstream. So the zeros are the lowest manhole, and then you get up to 100, 200, 300.
Oh,
And then we do it in 10, 040, 030. In case a new manhole goes in, then it's 035, right?
Oh,
If
yes.
something goes in between, right? So we have a numerical system that walks upstream.
okay.
Can you tell me where the one in
We'll have to
Kent,
run you through one of the maps one of these days. I'll show you them all.
where in general or roughly is the manhole that has the storm drain piped into it in Kentfield? I'm just curious.
It's right off of like Geary Avenue and
Yeah, not far from College of Marin, right?
yeah.
Not right off of Drake. Geary.
Yes, it is right off of Drake. It's like Thomason and Geary, I believe it is. I can add it. I should have added it in there. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's on the other
Don't
side
worry.
of Drake from College of Marin.
Oh, I got it, up the hill.
Yeah, so
Okay.
and then we did I'm sorry. Go ahead, Tom.
No, I was just saying, anything else? Yeah.
I was just gonna say we have been working with CMSA with their fog compliance inspections. We did some we were seeing a lot of grease over on Bolinas Road right in downtown Fairfax, and worked with CMSA. They went out and did some inspections and found a couple violations. So it's nice that I've worked previously with them. So it's been working well, going back and forth, getting inspections, talking with Mary Jo and Aaron Masol and everybody that's over there. So it's good to see some same faces and coordinate with them. It's making a difference, so it's good.
Were those violations at restaurants?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and this has been a real improvement this year too. So we're really going over some exciting developments that Paul's shown a lot of leadership on. In terms of following up on lateral compliance, now on the fog compliance, not just in a way, it's compliance assistance, we want the restaurants to succeed. And we want to coach them on proper maintenance of their grease management.
Yeah, and CMSA has been doing that. The inspectors have been working and just adjusting cleaning by 2 weeks or something like that, and then they'll come back and check again to find a happy medium with everybody.
And what Paul brings to the table, not only that he has the relationships, but this is whoever we hired, in Paul's position. We really wanted to strengthen the coordination between what we're seeing in our condition assessment in the maintenance world when we're doing line cleaning, and having a direct feedback loop to CMSA, who we contract with to do the compliance on fog. So I think we've really strengthened that. We've added the metrics in the report. As part of our audit, there was kind of a little too much of a disconnect compared to where we could be. And I think we're really making great progress on that.
Okay, anything else?
I think that's all I have in the staff report, unless there's any questions or concerns.
I would just point out the way the pie charts are coded in this are really great. I actually didn't even realize they're using white font. So anyway, for the finance folks.
So noted. Thank you.
Look over there for
Will
some
do.
ideas, if it can be automated, obviously. And Paul, I couldn't be more amazed at how the operations has been kicked up a notch since you got here. Like, it's really,
Really appreciate that.
really
Noticeable.
remarkable. And, we don't know anything about how things are supposed to run, so we didn't know, we don't know what we don't know. But it's just really clear from the monthly reporting that a lot of little details are getting attended to that were not before. And the relationship with CMSA obviously is wonderful as well. It seems seamless, as it should be.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
And I see your colleague Christina gave you a little applaud as I was saying that too, which is lovely.
And me as well.
Do they have an award for the monthly matrix report? Maybe that would be something that we could apply for, because I think our matrix is fabulous.
Yeah, we'll get Courtney on that, right?
Get Courtney on that. Yeah.
Great idea.
Just don't send one in with an SSO.
Well, so far, we're doing pretty well. Knock
Yeah.
on wood.
No, that's right.
Excellent. Okay.
Paul, I just want to ditto Mary, but also Fairfax has a new public works person, if you want to introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'll definitely reach out. Thank you for letting me know.
All righty.
Excellent. Okay, if there's nothing further, our next meeting, the regular meeting on October 19th at 5 o'clock. That's via Zoom. And I declare the meeting adjourned. Thank you, staff and everybody, board members.